Hi, my name is Willy, and welcome to part 3 of our 4-part series of inflation, interest rates, and the economy. Do stay tuned for more to find out how interest rate could actually push the economy to the brink. Since last year, central banks all around the world has tried their best to control inflation. One of the main tools that has been utilized by them is to increase interest rates. However, it seems that their efforts is not being paid back with good results, as inflation still remains sticky at a high rate. Right now, we're going to look at what actually made inflation so stubbornly high, and we're going to look at what's going to happen next. In terms of the economy post-pandemic, we have seen that the jobs market actually recovered quite substantially. Not only that, economy actually rebounded from its previous low level ever since the pandemic started. And at the same time, right now, we are currently experiencing one big issue, which is the supply chain. The supply chain as of now still remains tight due to one major factor. However, right now, we're going to look at jobs market. In terms of jobs market, we could actually see from data from several countries such as the US, the UK, or even the European Union, whereby the employment has actually increased ever since pandemic itself. Now, when a lot of people actually got their job back, this would also mean that the spending would actually increase. And due to increase in spending, this actually led to higher demand for certain goods. And when the demand is actually getting higher, thus the price of goods would actually increase. Now, this whole cycle here that I'm referring to is actually known as inflation, as I've explained in part 1 and part 2. And due to this, as the demand for certain goods is still at a high level, inflation still stays at how it is right now, which is quite high. Now, second thing is economic rebound. As the economy tries to recover from its previous slump, everything else would actually be produced at a rapid rate. However, as the economy expanded again for now, a lot of job opportunities will be created. Thus, it will link back to an increase in employment. And when employment increases, spending increases, and due to spending increases, we will have a lot of demand for certain goods, and thus this will lead to higher inflation as well. But one major factor that plays a very big role in our economy that we are experiencing right now is tight supply chain. Now, I think a lot of people may have heard this, is whereby China is actually the world's largest supplier. A lot of factories, a lot of producers actually outsource to China in order to produce their goods. But as of recent, because coronavirus cases actually exploded in China in certain areas such as Shanghai and also Guangzhou, which is where all the factories are, this has led to a knockoff or knocked down in terms of supply. Why is that so? It is because the China government actually practices something called the zero COVID policy. In terms of zero COVID policy, a lot of places would be shut down in order to control and circumvent coronavirus from spreading. And due to this type of a draconic lockdown, this will actually affect a lot of businesses, especially factories. And thus, because China actually still follows zero COVID policy, a lot of factories has been affected, whereby they are forced to shut down due to the policy itself, and this will actually lead to a lower supply for the entire world. And because of this, the main reason why inflation still remains at a high level, one of the major factors I would say would be supply chain issue in China itself. Because nowadays, in our world, we are actually very, very, very reliant on China in terms of getting our goods, and thus, this is where the sticky situation actually comes in. Sorry for my language. Now, as of right now, a lot has been done by both the central bank and the government itself. In terms of central bank, they actually cut down or cancel certain quantitative easing that they have introduced since the COVID pandemic started, and they start to increase interest rates. Whereas in terms of government side of things, they actually cut down or reduces their fiscal support, and this is in terms of hiking personal tax rates and also decrease unemployment benefits. However, although all these initiatives has been done, all these efforts in terms of cutting unemployment benefits and increasing interest rates, but how well actually it fares. Now, when we look at the latest data that we get, we could actually still see that inflation hovers at a very high level right now. And you could actually see that although interest rate has been increased ever since late last year, inflation rate actually still stays at a high level. And one of the main reasons why it stays at high level is due to supply crunch in the market, as a lot of us actually heavily reliant on China to produce our goods daily. And due to this has become a very difficult situation for all the central banks, because hiking interest rate may not be the solution to control inflation itself. Although inflation can be controlled in terms of consumer side of things by hiking interest rate, it may not be able to circumvent the real reality right here, which is the supply chain issue. Thus, what could we actually get from all this so far? Well, we will need to wait and see. In terms of a lot of central banks out there, I would say that they would actually rely on the economic data in order to gauge whether or not they should increase interest rate further. And right now, I would say that we would need to wait for more data from a lot of countries in order to see what is going to happen next. But I'm for sure going to say this is that interest rate may not be the tool to circumvent the rise in the price of goods, as this is due to a lot of reasons, and one of them is mainly due to tight supply chain. That is the end of part 3 to our 4-part series of inflation, interest rate, and the economy. Do subscribe to ZFX on our YouTube and stay tuned for more.